How can you compete on LinkedIn when there is a chance you have a guy in your niche with a seven-figure sales team or big companies with massive marketing budgets? Also, there are over 1 billion other members now all competing for the same clients. The question is if it's too late to start growing a business on LinkedIn now. Well, 2025 might actually be the best time to start. While everyone's complaining about the competition, they are missing what's actually happening. LinkedIn just hit 1 billion users, but only 1% of those users post content consistently. Only 3% are using it for actual sales, and the majority of businesses are still stuck posting boring company updates that nobody reads. Which means right now there is like a massive opportunity sitting right in front of you, but and it's critical. You can't play the same game as the giants. You need to fight like David against Goliath. So in the Valley of Elah, when the giant Goliath stood over 9 feet in tall in full armor, carrying a spear and shield, everyone expected a traditional hand-to-hand combat. But young David couldn't compete with that. He had no armor, no sword, no training in close combat. So instead of playing Goliath's game, David came up with a different approach. He stayed at a distance and used a sling, a weapon Goliath's heavy armor actually made him vulnerable to. One stood to the forehead and the giant fell. But what's that got to do with LinkedIn sales? So, well, David knew that fighting Goliath's way with traditional weapons and brute strength would only see him fail. So instead, he found a way to create an unfair advantage that turned the giant's strength into a weakness. And this is exactly what's happening on LinkedIn right now. The giants, the massive companies with huge teams, they are actually becoming slower and more vulnerable. They are stuck in corporate approval processes, legal reviews, and brand guidelines. Meanwhile, you can launch a campaign today, test tomorrow, and pivot next week. And here is what makes this so powerful. So LinkedIn's algorithm in 2025 favors genuine engagement over follower count. I've seen accounts with 500 followers get more reach than accounts with 50,000 because they are actually building real relationships. The platform is now literally designed to reward the David approach over the Goliath approach right now. So this is how you build a sales system on LinkedIn now that the competition is so flipping fierce. Not by slinging stones at giants, don't do that, but by working out how to create your own unfair advantage so you can actually compete against massive sales teams and even with billion-dollar companies. This is Alex Hormozy. He has millions of LinkedIn followers, a portfolio of companies worth hundreds of millions, and when he posts about sales, millions of people see it. He just shares pure value because he's built a solid multiple 8-figure businesses. So why would anyone work with you instead? Surely no one asked. Well, you don't need millions of followers to make serious money on LinkedIn. In fact, I'm going to show you the exact strategy that lets complete beginners compete. Because when I tested this myself starting from scratch, no audience, no credibility, no case studies, it still worked. So to show you how it works, I'm going to walk you through the exact outreach approach and then break down 3 reasons why it beats having a massive following. So, most people send connection requests like this. Hi, name. I help companies grow their revenue. Would love to connect. It's generic, boring, and ignored. But let's say Sarah. Sarah does this instead. She spends 30 minutes a day to manage her LinkedIn account, and she can now send automatically crafted messages like this. Hi Michael, saw your post about struggling to scale your agency past 10 clients. I have the similar agency in Toronto go from 12 to 47 clients in 8 months using a specific LinkedIn system. Not sure if you are interested, but happy to share what worked. No strings attached. Okay, so first, Sarah could have just sent mass connection requests and that would have gotten her some connections. But when she demonstrates that she actually read Michael's content and references a specific relevant result, how does that make Michael feel? The precision of the message shows she's not treating him like a number in a spreadsheet. She's treating him like a person with a specific problem. she's solved before. So this is what makes Sarah's system work, because when you try to sell everyone, you end up resonating with no one. But when you use a hyper-targeted outreach that speaks directly to someone's exact situation, they actually want to respond. And that's Sarah's unfair advantage that enables her to compete against people with millions of followers, because she makes every prospect feel seen and understood, not like they are just another lead in a pipeline. So the next thing she does boost this unfair advantage, and it was when she did this. After Michael accepts her connection request, Sarah doesn't immediately repeat. Instead, she sends this. Michael, here is the case study I mentioned. The key was fixing the outreach sequence in 3 weeks. Most people get this backwards. Let me know if you want me to audit yours. It takes 10 minutes, completely free. Now, usually LinkedIn sellers just send pitch after pitch, but because Sarah leads with value and has a specific framework, she's proven works. Michael is actually fascinated. The second you introduce a value-first approach with a clear framework, you now have a conversation starter that builds trust rather than triggering sales resistance. And when you do this, it becomes incredibly powerful because it makes the sales process feel collaborative rather than transactional. This is one of the great things about having a proven system. You can demonstrate value before even asking for sale, which completely changes the power dynamics. And then the final thing she needed was this follow-up message. Michael, I audited your outreach. You are doing 3 things really well, but there are 2 gaps that are costing you about 15 qualified conversations per month. Want me to walk you through them? 15-minute call, no pitch, just showing you what I would fix. You might get this is just a standard sales follow-up, but this is critical for LinkedIn, so pay attention. Sarah could have just asked for a sales call. Instead, she did free work that demonstrates her expertise and quantifies the opportunity cost. This specificity triggered massive response rates because Maya can see she's a real deal. So now, of course, not every prospect will respond. That doesn't really matter because Sarah's only after B2B service providers who are stuck at a revenue plateau. And I would imagine those are her main target clients. So message like this would have been more of a hit than a miss. So hyper-targeting, value-first outreach, and demonstrating expertise upfront are all weapons that allow someone like Sarah to defeat her Goliath. But here is what makes this even more powerful in 2025. LinkedIn's search and filtering tools are now so sophisticated that you can find your exact ideal client in minutes. Sarah can search for agency owners in Toronto with 10 to 50 employees who posted about scaling in the last 30 days. That level of precision didn't exist 5 years ago. And get this, the average response rate for such hyper-personalized LinkedIn outreach is 40 to 50%, compared to an email, which is 1 to 2%. So we are talking about 20 to 40 times better performance. That's not a slight edge, that's completely different. So while everyone is crying about their email campaigns dying, LinkedIn is literally printing qualified conversations for people who know how to use it. So let's look at the next way to create your unfair advantage, and you're going to like this because right now there is no bigger opportunity on LinkedIn for scaling sales than what I'm about to show you. So before I figured this out, I had been doing pure outbound, cold outreach, connection requests, manual prospecting, and my competition was, well, massive sales teams with SDRs and business development representatives, automated systems, and people spending 50,000 a month on LinkedIn ads. So how do you compete against Goliath to get growth when you are starting from scratch? Well, it's actually really simple. You stop sending the same messages in bulk. See, most people treat LinkedIn like a hunting ground. They wake up, they prospect, they send messages, they chase leads. It's exhausting and it doesn't scale because you are trading time for money. But here's what I realized. Every single one of your ideal clients is scrolling LinkedIn right now. They are reading posts, they are consuming content, they are looking for solutions. So instead of chasing people with cold outreach, what if you started posting content specifically designed to attract inbound leads? Here's what that looks like. The 3 mistakes that keep consultants stuck at 15K per month. I made all of them. How I landed my first client from a 200-word LinkedIn post, breakdown inside. Most people overcomplicate their sales system. Here is mine. And something insane starts happening. Instead of sending 50 connection requests per day and getting 5 conversations, you start getting 5 to 10 inbound messages per day from qualified prospects who have already been warmed up by your content. They will say things like, "Hey, I have written your post for 2 weeks. The thing you said about sales systems really resonated. Can we talk?" And I don't know about you, but here is a massive difference between cold outreach, where you are chasing people, and warm inbound, where people are raising their hands and asking for to work with you. The outbound game feels like this. Hey, please talk to me. Look at my message. So this next unfair advantage is to create content that positions you as the obvious niche, obvious choice before the sales conversation even starts. And here's why this is absolutely exclusive in 2025. So LinkedIn's algorithm is now prioritizing thought leadership content over promotional posts. They literally announced they want to become the world's largest professional knowledge platform, which means if you are sharing genuine insights, you are getting free distribution that companies used to pay millions for in advertising. So I didn't need a 50K budget. Then we have our third way to create your unfair advantage. So there is one thing on LinkedIn now that doesn't just have competition. It's got absolute chaos. Everyone's trying to sell, everyone is sending messages, everyone is pitching. It is almost impossible to scale revenue if you don't have a system. So you have got massive companies with sales teams, CRMs, automated sequences, account executives, sales tools. These organizations have entire departments dedicated to closing deals. How can you possibly compete with that infrastructure? Well, you can when you build a system from day one. And in 18 months of testing this approach, I have seen it generate consistent results because the system does the heavy lifting, not your personality. So here is how it works. Right now, although there are sophisticated sales teams and expensive tools, most people's LinkedIn sales process is incredibly chaotic. It's just random conversations, inconsistent follow-ups, no clear qualification criteria, no standardized speech, no tracking. But when you build a system from the start, it looks like this. So the first one is attraction. You post content 3 times a week, targeting your ideal client specific pain points. Even with 200 followers, consistency builds authority over time. Then the next one is send 10 or 25, but max 30 hyper personalized outreach messages per day using the research positioning we covered. Track the acceptance rates and response rates. Then use a 3 question framework on every first call. What's your current situation? What have you tried that didn't work? What happens if you don't fix this in the next 6 months? This weeds out tire kickers in 10 minutes. Then we move to the fourth one. Don't pitch. Instead, show them exactly what you would build for them with specific outcomes. Paint the picture, make it tangible. And then send a simple one-page proposal with scope, timeline, investment. No 40-page documents. You need just clarity. And once you deliver the results, upsell them to higher tier services. This is where 60% of your revenue comes from long term. Now, here is what makes this system really powerful. You document everything, every message template, every qualification question, every proposal structure. You put it in Notion, in Google Docs, or wherever, just make it repeatable. Why? Because when you have a system, you can predict revenue from 30 to 60 days. You can delegate parts out of it with virtual assistants. You can improve it systematically. You can scale without working more hours. All of these examples rely on treating LinkedIn like a business system, not a social network. And that is what gives them their unfair advantage, because most people are just doing it. It's actually how I scaled too. I put in the work to build a system so detailed that I could hand parts of it off. And if I was like, oh, one day someone's going to optimize this better than me, and they haven't, because most people won't do the boring work of systemizing. But how do you build your own system to defeat the Goliath? So let's say you love Alex Hormoz's content strategy, Justin Welsh's productized service model, and Lara Costa's community building approach. What you do is you take what you love most about those approaches and adapt them to your own sales system. So I might take Hormoz's value-first content style, Justin's scalable offer structure, and Lara's engagement tactics. Combine these together and you're going to create a really unique sales system that works for your specific niche. I think a lot of people recently, after seeing the success of big names who just post content and have clients flooding in, have told themselves, I will just post content and clients will come. And they are partially right. Content does attract clients. The thing is that people who benefit the most from pure inbound content strategies, usually they already have massive audiences and years of credibility. Because to make content only sales work, you have to have so much authority that people trust you immediately, and you only get that authority by having done it for years and years already. So if that's not you, you can't rely on just posting and hoping. You have to build a complete system that includes outbound, inbound, follow-up, qualification, and also closing for sure. And if you really want to scale on LinkedIn and you like the idea of building a sales system that generates predictable revenue month after month, then watch this video next.